oases, where stones were cut to build temples in this oasis. As for the other quarries, they are in the area of Bilad al-Rum.
Welcome back. And as we have promised at the beginning of the show, that we are going to talk today about the plastic art and how the plastic art could be through which we have more knowledge about our feelings, our emotions, and how through the plastic art we can have a development for our feelings and emotions on different levels. To shed more light, we are having with us in the studio our dear guest, Mr. Amir Wahib. He's an art designer. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Wahib. Now, let's start by shedding some light on the history of plastic art here in Egypt.
It's a great history. But let me, in the beginning, define what is art in general. So we talk about some different style from art. So when we talk about plastic art, we talk about architecture, interior design, and sculpture, graphic designs. All these are plastic art. In my career, when we talk about paintings, I believe in architecture. Study architecture. And for me, architecture is everything, and it's combined everything.
Yeah.
From doors and windows, you will find this a lot, repeat this item in my paintings. Architecture, for me, it's the history of Egypt as well. So our civilization, it's built on architecture. You see these pyramids, it's architecture. It's the great architecture. So our history, it's very rich, and
Indeed.
I'm proud being Egyptian artist, actually. Yes.
Mr. Wahib, what about the fields and forms that are affecting your work in the field of plastic art?
As I said in the beginning, I believe in architecture. Architecture is everything, you know. So it has a great effect on people.
But is architecture affecting or having an influence on your work as a plastic artist as well?
Yes, indeed. Because I realize that we move through doors. Our life, it's full of doors, you know. So from the doors of our home to gallery to this great building, Maspero. Maspero as a building, it's very nice and very recognized building in Egypt. So you find that architecture also, it's represent how nations think, you know, when you move to those who called the great countries in Europe, and you go to some poor countries in Africa, you'll see the difference, and it's clear between their architectures, you know. So architectures also reflect how these people think, they reflect how they are smart, or their disciplines, and how they think perfection. Some architectures building in some cities are absolutely great. Yeah.
Okay. Sir, could you give us a bit of information about the development of plastic art here in Egypt?
The history of art in Egypt is very rich, and they have some sort of perfect thinking from the very beginning when they put their lines, and also how they use colors and forms. Our actually in Egypt has some kind of this art that we could use it to teach generations to generations how the art is very important, not as something that we use it to decorate our life, but also to use it to how to start thinking. That's why in the great country as well, they start teach the kids how to draw, because to draw, it's not just for fun. When you teach him to draw, it's to teach him to start to do anything. You have to want to do it.
And to express his feelings.
Exactly. So not to express their feelings. We have everything around us, it has to be drawing from the very beginning. Anything, from tables to TV, watches, anything you think about it, especially in the industrial designs, it has to be drawing, by the drawing, you know.
Mr. Wahib, can you tell us about the pioneer Egyptians in the field of the plastic arts?
We have our great artist Mahmoud Mukhtar.
Of course.
He's a great sculptor. We have also a lot of names like Mahmoud Saeed as well.
And we are seeing now on the screen, and sorry for interruption, some photos here, if you can comment.
This is from the entitled "The Clocks in the City" in New York City, Manhattan. One of my best exhibitions ever, and it takes almost 1 year to prepare. You know, I did walk New York City street by street to count clocks and to make sketches and drawings to prepare it. So it takes long time and effort to accomplish this exhibition.
So can you tell us more about this exhibition?
This exhibition reflected the entire philosophy of my art, because most of these paintings represent architecture. And the architectures in Manhattan, it's fantastic, you know. So it is something reflect very lot of things in their jobs. The other paintings here, like this woman, this is from the collection Architectural Insight, and it is also represent chairs and doors and windows, because these items it also represent the personality. You will find that doors and windows of the poor people, it's totally different about doors and windows from the rich. So this difference in their position in life, it is also attached with their architecture and these items in particular. So excuse me, I want just to add a final thing, that the chair, it's also for me an important item, because it reflects the personality behind this chair, or who sit on this chair. The chair of the minister, it's totally different than another employee in simple association, you know.
But I've noticed, sir, and that was my comment, that most of the time when you are portraying even personnel, it's with their back.
I've noticed the same thing.
So,
especially women.
Because I'm not focused on someone. Yes, it is about the personality and how this person can feel the same feelings like any other one. So it is for me just a human being. Yes.
Okay, I've also noticed in one of your paintings there was that as you mentioned, that has all these doors, and they are halfway open, and you can actually see that there is no end to this path. I mean, it's like a path that has no end, and on the left side and the right side there are doors that are half
Some
open.
of them are open, some of them are closed.
Yes.
Yes, this is
Is it
how.
life?
Yes, you know, this is
Symbolism of life
exactly.
itself.
I mean, doors, it's endless doors, and doors, as
Some
I
doors
said,
are open and some doors are closed.
personalities, and also it has what they can say. It's another way to think about how doors can be open for you or can be closed in front of you. So it has also this type of personality that he is an open-minded, or he is someone he's so closed about himself. People are afraid. Some people are totally happy, and they are open their life for the other. And some others people, they are afraid from the other. So it has something like depend on their personality, you know.
Yes.
Sir, so from your paintings, from which I've noticed that you are very much influenced by the doors, by the chairs, as you have mentioned, and by the clocks and architecture.
Yes, the clocks also, for me, it is very important because it has related to the time, and by the time it become history. So in our life, we have to think about the time, because time is very important. Those who do nothing through the day, and some of them, they spend their life without do any positive thing. You have to think about it. So it is related to the time, and the clock, it's very important for the indication of the time.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful about this.
Okay.
Yes.
Sir, certain cities around the world became very famous due to their architectural style. And we can
Exactly.
take Barcelona, for example,
yes.
and they take Gaudi as
Icon.
as an
Indeed.
icon for architecture.
A real god.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yes.
To them, I mean, wherever you're touring the city, they always speak about Gaudi and his
They only do
the
speak
shift that he made
Yes,
in turning Barcelona into a very special city, especially when it comes to
Yes,
architecture.
yes.
Now, take this to discuss with you. How do you see the role of architects in changing the face of the city, not only from an architectural view, but also from economically and touristic point of view as well?
This is a very important question. Those people, they know how they use their talented people, because they believe on how they create life with all things she mentioned. We have in Egypt a real fortune, but because the lack of the education, they don't know how
The
they
value.
have. Yes, I mean, you have a true fortune in Egypt. Indeed. With their buildings and their architecture. We need to evaluate this point through the education, because Gaudi, it's someone in comparison with our history in architecture, with the pharaohs.
It's relatively modern, of course.
It is something.
It's very
Yes,
modern.
very modern.
I don't mean this point, but if you compare the pyramids with building in Barcelona,
There is no comparison.
there is no comparison, you know. So how we lose our.
But how are we maintaining our heritage here?
We have three doors to from education, the cultures, and also the tourism. We need to focus on how to use our positive points to show it to the world in the right way, because you have a real issue, you know. You have something to present and to show the entire world that this is how we do perfect job. You know?
You're raising a very important issue, which is related to education. I think that the curriculum in schools has to be evaluated, because art is taken as a
Unfortunately,
very light
yes,
subject, unfortunately.
Yes.
And we need to educate the teachers before the kids.
Exactly.
Let me tell you a very tiny example. My daughter in school, she likes to draw, and she's known to be the artist of the family. And suddenly, when I saw her grades, I found that she failed in art. For many parents, they didn't care about art. I mean, they were going to the math teacher and the English teacher and the science teacher. I was the only one going to meet the art teacher.
Because you are clever.
And she was also surprised. And when I talked to her, you know what I found?
She is surprised because she is naive. Because this is how this is not for fun.
Let me tell you how it went. I asked her to explain the grade she gave to my daughter. She told me that she asked her to copy a painting by Van Gogh, and she refused to copy it. She drew something else. She painted something else from her own imagination, and that's why she failed. And I told her, okay, you should, if we're talking about art, you're talking about leaving the space for the artist to be more creative. And she said, no, she has to commit to what I said. If I tell her to copy, she has to copy the painting.
No, but this is some sort of how to learn people, not just kids. I mean, this is something very important for myself to start great paintings from the great artists. It's a way to start think how
they reach that level of creativity.
Okay.
Yes.
So the teacher, she didn't
do
something wrong, you know. But maybe your daughter, she is too much creative to copy the great master. But to copy from the great master, it's a way to
learn.
teach, you know.
No, she drew her own way. I mean,
kind
her
of
own
teaching.
style.
No, this is a true kind of teaching,
Yes.
even in the School of Art worldwide. But to learn drawing and art from this level of years in the very beginning, like to teach them to how to draw, it's very important.
Indeed.
I mean, this is the very beginning to start teach kids, because when you teach him how to draw, you teach him how to think. So later he can be a true creative.
We need to teach him also how to appreciate art.
Exactly.
How to appreciate art.
Because as I said, art, it's not for decoration, it's not for fun. Art is how to, I mean, around you, these cars and this anything in the industrial design, as I said, you have to draw it.
Indeed.
Everything you have to be drawing.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I believe we need to wrap up this edition of The Breakfast Show, but thank you very much, sir. Mr. Amir Wahib, art designer and plastic artist. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you very much,
Thank
sir.
you, my pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us in this edition of the program. You were in the company of Mahis Rabia and myself, Hanan Hamalawi. Have a great day.